And welcome back, folks. We are here to talk about the Bears' Day 2 draft haul. My name is Quinten Krzysko. I am joined by Steve Letizia. Steve, we just got done with the Bears picks. We think, we're still, the third round, I guess, is still about to start, but they're out of picks as of
Mhm.
now. If they jump back in, we'll find out. But
Yeah.
how are you feeling about the Bears draft haul?
I think overall I'm feeling good. I liked I liked two of their three picks at least, and I can't at 62 you can't be too upset about anything. So, but yeah, I think Luther Burden was a surprise for sure. Definitely came out of left field. I did not expect another offensive weapon, but they got a guy who coming into the season was in the wide receiver one conversation. Matt Miller still had him as wide receiver one. Um, and most people had him at like wide receiver two or three, and the fact or at the worst. So the fact that you can get that guy at 39, I think is really just good value, even if it doesn't really fill a need. But it gives the Bears just so many options of what to do, offensively. You can move guys around. You could play him in the slot. You can play him outside. You can play Loveland in the slot. You can play him in line. You can play him outside. You can play move DJ Moore around. Can fill a lot of different roles. Romo Dunze can play in power slot. So you're going to come out with just so many different looks that it's going to be very hard for teams to game plan and come up with a way to stop all those different weapons. So I liked that pick from that standpoint a lot. Then as we traded back from 41, got an additional fourth round pick, so love that already. And then with those, we got 56 and 62. We went Ozzy Trapilo with pick 56, the Boston College offensive tackle. Really liked that pick. I think he gives you a really high floor tackle prospect to kind of mold and work with. Worst case scenario, you get your swing tackle for the next 4 years, which is valuable at pick 56 to me. Best case scenario, you have a capable left tackle. He played left tackle a few years ago, played right tackle the last 2 years, so he's played both ways. So I like that a lot. Really big guy, moves really well for his size, 6'8", 315, good size, good length, everything you kind of want there in a prototypical kind of left tackle. And then with 62, we went with Shemar Turner, Texas A&M defensive tackle. If there's a pick that I didn't like, it's this one. I had him a little bit lower than the consensus, actually a lot lower than consensus. But there's a lot to like in his profile too. I just had questions about kind of how it's going to translate. But he's twitchy, he's bendy for a defensive tackle. He plays with violence. Um, and there's something to work with there at least. And for a guy who can kind of sit behind Grady Jarrett, for a year and maybe just kind of come into the defensive line rotation, I think that's a good role for him to kind of start out as he kind of grows into a more every down role, which I don't know if he ever gets to, but there's at least a chance that he does. So overall, I think it was a good haul and a good day for the Bears.
There was a lot of angst in this day too,
Yeah,
wasn't there? Like, I mean,
a little bit.
we were sitting there on the clock at 39. It was like my heart was racing. It was kind of like this one. I'm more nervous with this one than I was at 10 yesterday. Like, it felt like the
Yeah, I was too.
stakes were just higher. And when they said Luther Burden Jr. or the third,
Yeah,
I was like, what?
yeah, that
That
was a
that's
shocker.
that's not trenches. That's not running back. That's not what any of us expected here. But
Yeah.
as we're sitting here reasoning through it and thinking it through, we're like, you know, you read that quote from the Bears like scouting director, I think it was, saying, yeah, we had these clouds of players, and he was just at the top of that cloud.
Hmm. Yep.
And as we were sitting here looking at our board, we are like, he's at the top of our cloud.
Yeah.
They followed their board. We Our board was right there. We just weren't trusting our eyes with it, right? We did this work. We had him right there, right where the Bears had him. We were like, but they're not going to go receiver. What do you think this means for the Bears receiver room? That they would go get a guy like Luther Burden, who we all seemingly like,
Yeah.
but we also, right here, our comp for him is DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when we drafted Loveland on day one, everyone was like, okay, we're going to run a bunch of 12 personnel. 12 personnel only has two wide receivers on the field, and we kind of assumed that was going to be DJ Moore and Romo Dunze. But you don't draft Luther Burden at 39 to have him be your guy off the bench. Like he's going to get a lot of play too. We kind of talked about this a little bit, when Luke was on the call. I think, and Ben Johnson when he was in Detroit, he kind of used the wide receiver a more rotation with his wide receivers, where with Shane Waldron, it was Odunze and Moore and Keenan Allen are going to be on the field, and they're rarely going to come off of it. So in that instance, you can kind of rotate in with DJ Moore. Obviously, the comparison's there, and I think that's a very common comparison. That's not something like, that we were not alone in that comparison there. So he can obviously back up that role. But in terms of what it means for DJ Moore's future, I think I don't know, because you can't really, he's under contract for a couple more years. You can't trade him. You're obviously not getting rid of Rome Odunze. I think the person who kind of is the odd man out here is pretty clearly Cole Kmet. Maybe not this year, but after this year, I'd be very surprised if Cole Kmet's a Chicago Bear. I think you could trade him, get something for him. Loveland will be your starting tight end. You can find a blocking tight end, somewhere else for not much, draft capital or not much money if you're signing them. And then that's kind of the way to go. But there's so many weapons now. I also think at third downs, I wouldn't mind Luther Burden or DJ Moore lining up kind of in the backfield, just giving people different looks. Not all the time, obviously. They're not going to be your third down running back, but just kind of to get more weapons on the field. You can have DJ Moore in the slot with Luther Burden kind of in the backfield just to mix things up about a little bit. I think that makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah, it really kind of feels like they're following that Detroit model, right? Like Dan Campbell got to Detroit. Ben Johnson was already there, but Ben Johnson becomes offensive coordinator in that time. They moved TJ Hawkinson out of nowhere, right? Mm-hmm. And they draft Sam Laporta the very next year. The timeline's a little different, but like this feels like it to me, like it's aligning for Cole Kmet to be moved in a year. Which with his contract, you can move him in a year to 2 years. I think after next year, you do have the flexibility in his contract to trade him. Now, that begs the question, like, what could you trade him for? I mean, I think a third round pick is kind of where you start, assuming that he has a decent year with his contract being like he's the 8th highest paid tight end in the league right now. That might be like 12th next year. I don't know. Maybe I'm too high on that.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably more like a 4th rounder.
Okay.
Makes sense, because I think you start with a 3rd and then you end up settling for a 4th, just because I think teams, based on how they're going to use that, I think teams will call the bluff, be like, come on, you're going to get rid of Cole Kmet. You drafted his replacement. You drafted another wide receiver, another weapon. Like, he's the odd man out. We're going to wait you out, and you're going to settle for a 4th round pick.
It's interesting that where they landed with all this, like, because you usually wouldn't say we're going to try to create that situation, but like they've created, and maybe it's not Cole Kmet that's the odd man out. We don't know. Yeah. Maybe they're just saying we're going to create as much competition in our weapons rooms as we can, because last year those guys were not playing hard enough.
Yeah.
We're not singling any individual out, but we're going to take the Darwin approach, and the strongest will survive.
Yeah. It's possible. Yeah. It's definitely a surprising pick, but a good pick. I don't think you can be mad about Luther Burden. I think you get a lot of offensive weapons in, and I trust Ben Johnson to utilize them and get them all the ball. I mean, the only like issue you might run into, and wide receivers are, sometimes a little crazy. They want the ball, and it's going to be tough to keep everyone happy with those. I mean, we know DJ Moore, can get a little unhappy if he's not getting the ball. I don't know if Odunze is that way. Based on what I've heard about Luther Burden, he gets a little testy if he's not getting the ball. So you might run into the issue there. Who knows? But yeah, just get a bunch of weapons and figure it out from there. I don't think you can be mad at the Luther Burden pick at all.
Yeah. And side note, Luther Burden, kind of a pseudo local kid, played his senior year of high school at East St. Louis. So right across the Illinois border from St. Louis. Anyone who's at all in the high school football world knows a lot about, in Illinois, knows a lot about East St. Louis. They put guys in the NFL. They put guys in D1 colleges all the time. Very good football program. They beat my Glenbard West hitters in the state semifinals back in 2009. And I still cry about it on occasion. But anyways, moving on. Bears trade down from 41. They get 56, 62, and I believe 109 in return for they also sent 72 away in that pick. They actually, on the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, they actually gave some value in that trade, but it was like 20-point difference. I think that's fine. You can live with it, especially with this class where you're saying there's a lot of value between pick 40 and 100. Like you're kind of getting in a better range there and picking up 109, which I shouldn't say 100, like between like 40 and 125. I think there's really some nice value. So you
For sure.
should still be able to get a guy on day 3 at 109 who you feel pretty good about. Um, at pick number 56, they get a guy who I wasn't expecting. Another kind of surprise for me. Steve, you said that you kind of expected this one.
Yep.
My logic was more that they're going to be looking for a guy who can be more of a swing interior player.
Mhm.
I guess not, because I guess Karan is probably that swing guard
Yep.
to tackle. Like he can probably do a little of both for you. Because Ozzy Trapilo, Steve, can he play guard?
No, I don't think so. You don't see a lot of 6'8" guards, and that's how tall Ozzy Trapilo is. So my
But what
my
can
my
he do?
gut says no. What we can do is he could play tackle. I think for sure. I think he's definitely a prototypical tackle, and like you said, Amagaji is he's gonna be your swing interior offensive lineman now because I don't think you keep him at tackle. This move just signals that Amagaji is gonna be a guard. And that's fine. If you get a swing guard in the third round that last year, that's a good deal. But talking about Trapillo, the guy's huge, like I mentioned, 6'8", 315, good length, good, not great length, but he uses it well. Really good football player who moves really well. He's got a great anchor, just with his size. I would say the only thing with his anchor is, he does get out leveraged from time to time because he's 6'8". And that's just it's hard to not get out leveraged when you're that tall. That's why, tall offensive tackles do struggle at times. But we've also seen a lot of good offensive tackles who are 6'8" and 6'8 plus. So it's not that he can't do it. But I think there were times on tape where he got out leveraged, but there were also times on tape where he did play with some good knee bend despite his size and really synced his hips into contact and didn't give up any ground. There's I in my video I posted on him there I put anchor as a strength for that reason. It popped up in college, but I think there are ways for him um, to get better there. But he'll never be amazing at it just because of his physical size. But yeah, he also moves really well. Like I mentioned, we know they want to run a lot of outside zone. This guy can do that. He had a 1.76 10-yard split, I think it was, which is really pretty good, especially for a guy that size. I mean, that's good for anyone, at tackle, but a guy that size is really impressive. So I think that just fits with what they want to do. It allows you to kind of see what you have with him. Braxton Jones, is he going to be there in 2026? I kind of doubt it. I think this is kind of your replacement for him, but he'll be the swing tackle year one, left tackle in 2026 most likely.
I do like the depth they're creating at offensive tackle with this move between
Mm-hmm.
like Trapio or Trapillo, Amagaji, Braxton Jones, and Darnell Wright. Like I feel pretty good about them at offensive tackle going forward with those four players. I think that you have like if you don't bring Braxton back, you feel good about one of these two guys being able to at least be serviceable there,
Yeah,
right? Like you're not stuck in a place where you're going, well, we got to draft a rookie at say they make the
yeah,
playoffs. We got to draft a rookie at 25 overall. The offensive tackles at 25 usually aren't
right.
very good. I mean, not to
Yeah,
say that they're worse than the guys in the third round or in the
yeah,
second round, but like you have a year with this guy to try to
yeah,
get him ready, which is different. Now,
yeah.
when you talked about the leverage aspect here, I do think that arm length plays into that some. He's got 33.5-inch long arms. That's sufficient in my book. It's not good.
Mhm.
It's just fine.
Yeah.
As long as his feet are good and as long as he's good technically, that should be okay. But that is where 6'8" comes in deeper for me, where it's like
Mhm.
you are a taller stature. If you cannot make first contact, you might be in trouble when a guy
Yeah.
gets that long arm on you. So that's where the leverage issue comes into question. But I like this pick generally. I'm good with it. I think it's a bit earlier than where I would have had Trapillo, but or Trapillo. I keep saying Trapillo.
I don't.
Trapillo.
It might be Trapil.
I
I don't
believe
know.
it's Trapillo.
Okay.
And I do have like or not I do have. I'm okay with a bit more of a reach here because offensive linemen have been flying off the board.
Yeah.
Like we
Offensive
saw
lineman
8
always.
offensive linemen go in the first round. We
Yeah.
saw, including like one or two who might not have been really first round talents.
Right.
We saw more fly off the board early in the second round. Like you had to go get a guy that you liked if you wanted to
Yeah.
add an offensive lineman. I think they did that here. There were some other guys who I still liked on the board, but Trapilo is probably the most sure thing amongst the guys who were available. Like, you feel
Yeah.
like this guy's going to be a serviceable swing, at least in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, look at the contracts that bad offensive tackles got this year. $20 million for what, Dan Moore or whatever it was. Like,
Yeah.
you can't if you want to tackle, you're gonna have to reach for them a little bit. And I don't think this was an egregious reach. We got him at 56. Dan Jeremiah had him at 72. So a little bit of a reach, but not anything too crazy. He was definitely a late second, early third round guy, I thought. So it's not too crazy. Yeah, so it makes complete sense.
Yeah. And then
one more thing about him as well, because you mentioned this, I wanted to mention, but you mentioned, you don't have to, draft a left tackle first round next year. But also, I don't think this prevents you from doing that if a guy is available. Let's say we have the 25th pick. If a guy is there, you could still potentially do that, and then he's your swing tackle. So there's some flexibility there, but it puts you in a good position going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at 56, like, you'd like a guy to be more than just a swing, but like, if you get a guy, you get a guy. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's just
you'll
his
make it
floor.
work.
That's just his floor. I mean, I think I'd be very surprised if Trapilo is not at least a serviceable offensive lineman.
We live in an NFL where it's great to have 3 offensive tackles.
Yeah, you need. I mean,
If the
Braxton Jones
Bears have that,
been
you're
injured.
very happy.
Darnell Wright has had shoulder issues too, so
Yeah.
you gotta have some insurance there.
Yeah. Now, at 62, we already had a surprise.
Yep.
At 39, like, we already felt like there was a surprise. At 62, the Bears take a guy who wasn't a surprise to Dane Brugler, who had him 56 on his board. Was a surprise to us because when we watched his tape, we went, I don't think that fits what the Bears need. We're not even going to make a video or write a scouting report because we don't think this guy is on the Bears' radar.
Mm-hmm.
They took Shemar Turner, defensive tackle / defensive end. He's kind of played both, from Texas A&M. I'm going to pull up my notes here. I had a 6.61 grade on him, which meant a 4th round grade. And I said, which very different from Dane Brugler. Like we said, there were people who liked him a lot. Me and Steve just were a little lower on him than them. On the strengths for Shemar Turner, I said he's an ultra competitive football player with extremely quick and violent hands, powerful upper half to swat and chop away offensive linemen's punches. And he offers alignment versatility with a bendy, pliable frame. That is something that I do value highly. The bendy frame at defensive tackle, like that, those guys tend to last in the league because they don't get injured the same way, and they tend to be able to take contact without getting taken out of the play, right? Like, they can absorb, they can work their way through contact. High motor football player, which fits the trend of the class. He stays working towards the football all the time with contagious energy. Smart player. He catches on to trends and tells and uses them throughout the game to his advantage. And he possesses impressive athletic traits that can be weaponized on stunts and loops, which fits Dennis Allen. Slippery on the line of scrimmage. Blockers struggle to get a clean grip on him because he's just a Tasmanian devil out there. Like, he is constantly moving, constantly flying around, but that takes us into our negatives. Like, his hand fighting to me felt more busy than purposeful. Like, Tasmanian devil who didn't know where he was going. Sometimes it felt like to me, where he's just kind of a lot of activity without a lot of purpose. He has an upright rushing style that could become an issue at the NFL against better power, and he needs to add some pass rush counters. I thought, like, it felt like he just got stuck on guys a lot. Lacks the ideal mass to hold his ground in the run game. On the interior, if you're going to use him on the edge, I think he actually probably has good mass out there to do that, especially for Dennis Allen's. He wants the 5 techs. He wants to head up on the defensive tackles. It has a boom or bust nature as a run defender. Again, that's on the interior. And when blockers are able to get inside of him, inside his pads, the rep just kind of ends there. Like, that comes back to the counters. He didn't really have a lot of ways to work around that. And I thought there were times where he's a little too content to just settle into the passing lane and play the throw as opposed to continue attacking. And just a lack of power moves as a pass rusher that might be different on his edge tape. Steve, you watched some of his edge tape. Did you see it? Did you see some power moves to his game?
Yeah, so he played on the edge in 2023, and then when Texas A&M got Nick Scourton and they already had Shemar Stewart, It was kind of like, well, we got 3 edge rushers that are really good. We need to get them all on the field. So Turner moved inside. And he is 6'4", 290, so it makes sense. But yeah, I liked his tape better off the edge, to be honest, because he still had that same bend. He had that same explosiveness, and I just thought his power played up more there.
Okay.
Where his power on the inside, it was kind of hit or miss, kind of like what you said. Um, I thought it played up more on the outside. So I do think that's where I would play him. I don't know if that's what they're envisioning, but I think it makes sense. Like we know Dennis Allen likes bigger edges. This guy's what was his actual rate? 290 at the combine, exactly 290. So with almost 34-inch arm, so length, he's got the size. I think he could be that 5 technique, 4-eye technique for you if you want to do that, or he could just be shading the tackle as well. So that's why I would play him. But I said he's a guy you can move around. Maybe you play him on the outside, early downs, kick him inside on passing downs if you want to do that. But I liked his tape better on the edge. I do want to mention as well, because it's something else I remember when I was kind of looking into him. He's had a lot of injuries. He had a stress fracture in 2024 fall camp. I'm just reading Brugler's report. Required a rod to be inserted, and he played through the injury, but it didn't heal properly, so he missed a portion of the draft process. Played through a torn labrum over the second half of the 2023 season and underwent off-season surgery. Underwent surgery following the 2023 season for a shin injury as well. So 3 different surgeries that this guy has had in the last 2 years. That's tough, and that's tough for a guy you drafted in round 2.
Also, off-field decision making. This is from Brugler's report. Off-field decision making will be scrutinized after he was arrested and charged with reckless driving during his junior season in September 2023. Man, I don't like it.
I'm just gonna say I don't like this pick.
I just don't like it. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong as
yeah,
wrong can be. And like I clearly I wrote this guy off fairly early,
mhm.
and that's on me. But like I just don't like this pick.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't make a video for him. We didn't do a scouting report because I watched him, and I don't like to make videos of guys I don't like because I don't want to just bash a 22-year-old, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, okay, I'll just I'm not gonna make a video on this guy. Um, with the off-field stuff, with the injuries, it just makes it worse. The other thing, Omar Norman Lott went 1 pick after we picked Turner at 62. Norman Lott went 63. Darius Alexander, I think, went 65. Those are 2 defensive tackles that I had much higher on my board, and I think we're going to have a very clear comparison on what this pick is like just based on that. If any of those 2 guys take off, like the Bears are going to look really bad. Unfortunately, I think that's what this is. I don't like this pick. Just there's no way around it. But like you said, could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty in my years doing this. Like I'm wrong every year. Everyone's wrong every year. No
Yeah.
one's perfect. So you could be definitely wrong. I'm definitely gonna take another look for sure. I'm gonna go back right now, pretty much after this, and watch them again because I want to see if there's something I missed. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. But hey, we did get him in a trade down technically, so we acquired a 109th pick when we got this guy. So there's that aspect of it you got to take into account, and we'll see. We'll see if they get if at 109 they get a guy that I would have felt comfortable picking at 62, which is possible, happens every year. Then this draft class looks a little bit different because then because I would have been Shemar Turner at 109. I think that's a good
Yeah.
place to like kind of draft him.
I would
So
have felt much more okay with it there.
yeah, so if you get a guy at 109 who I really like, then I think it evens out there. So let's
Yeah.
hope 109 goes better.
Yeah. I'll tell you, man, I'm not a doctor. Stress fracture during 2024 fall camp that required a rod to be inserted, played through the injury, but it didn't heal properly, and he missed a portion of the draft. That terrifies me.
Yeah.
That utterly terrifies me. That part right there. He had a rod
Yeah.
inserted and it didn't heal correctly. Like
Yeah.
that screams red flag to me. Again, I'm
Yeah.
not a doctor, not a medical professional. That gives me a lot
That's
of trepidation.
I mean, obviously they've seen his medicals and they must have checked out, but yeah, I don't know how that could possibly be the case. To be honest, especially since that was not the only surgery he had. He had 2 surgeries in 2023 alone, like there's a shin injury and shoulder, torn labrum. So That's a lot of injuries for a guy you're taking pretty high in the draft, especially for a guy who I think we both agree has potential. There's a lot to like in his game, but he's not there right now. So you have a guy who needs development, you have a guy who needs time, and if he has any injury that doesn't let him get that development, it doesn't let him get playing time, it's over for him. So that's very, very risky for me.
I'll tell you what, though. Right, let me ask you, Steve. If you had to sum up this draft class so far in one word, what would that be?
I would say surprising. A
Or
lot
I
of,
guess
I mean,
one phrase, just like one phrase to describe the class's trait or the way they play the game.
uh, I would say violent, maybe. I'm trying, maybe that's the best word, because they all kind of play violent differently. Like, Colson Loveland's trying to block his ass off, and he's going to be he's a good blocker already. I think he's only going to get better. Luther Burden is a physical wide receiver, run after the catch. He can run you over, he can run around you. Ozzy Trapilo is just a mountain of a man, strong, people mover in the run game. And then the one thing I do like about Shemar Turner is that he does play with some violence. He's got really heavy hands, and he throws
Mhm.
around guys. I don't know if he can consistently do that at the NFL level when guys are bigger and stronger and faster, but I think all those guys play with a certain tenacity. Maybe tenacity is even a better word
Yeah.
than violence. Certain tenacity to the game that I think gives them a chance.
Yeah, I think tenacity is a really good one to use. I had the term body blows in mind because
Yeah,
that's Ben Johnson's term that he said over and over in his press conference. Body blows, body blows.
yeah,
It was like Dan Campbell's biting kneecaps. It was Ben Johnson's
yeah,
body blows. That's what he
yeah,
wants. That's what this class is so far. It
yeah,
is players who are going to give you body blows. They're going to work the body. They're going to tire you out, and they're going to make you feel every punch. So like that, I think that's a good thing.
yeah.
Even if I don't like the value of that last pick, which kind of like leaves a sour taste in my mouth,
Hmm.
I do see that violence, that tenacity, and that ability to just be beating people up over
Yeah,
and over every snap. And that's something I think this team has been missing for years. So,
yeah.
like,
They,
that is a bright side, a silver lining here for me.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, they must have really liked Turner because I'm just watching the draft here. Vernon Broughton, who's the Texas defensive tackle who I really liked, had higher than Turner. He just went at 71, and the Bears had 72. 72 was their initial pick. So in between 62 and 72, after the Bears picked Shemar Turner, four defensive tackles went. So there was a run there, and they clearly wanted to get ahead of it, and this was their guy. So that's just interesting how that trade kind of played out. If they would have stuck at 72, they wouldn't have gotten any of those D tackles. There
Yeah.
was a little bit of a run there, so they must have had some intel that that was that range where the D tackles were going to go and target and prioritize that trade with the Bills.
Yeah. To get their guy in Shemar Turner.
Yeah.
Steve, you'll understand this pain. This is my second year where I've picked a guy that's no matter what. Last year it was Hunter Norzad no matter what.
Yeah.
Bears don't get him. This year it was CJ West no matter what. He's still
Maybe.
available, but I don't think they're going another D
Yeah.
tackle at 109,
Most
and I don't think he's going to be there at 148.
most likely not. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so you're no matter what guy's off the board, plant your flag on a different no matter what guy. Do you have another guy at a different position maybe that you want at 109? Who's your 109 guy?
Huh, that's a good question.
I'll try and
109.
find one too. I don't know if I have an answer yet either, so let me take a look. I'm looking running back at most likely.
It has
That's
to be,
the
right?
position. So for me, I mean, if we're I don't know if Damian Martinez is going to be there, but he would be my guy if he is. DJ Giddens, Devin Neal, I think is good. But Bashal Tootin, those guys are kind of your guy you're looking at 109. If they can come away with one of those guys, I would have been okay with any one of those guys in 62. So I think we'd be in good shape.
Jaden Blue, no matter what.
Jaden Blue. I was watching more Jaden Blue today. I liked him. I thought maybe it was a little bit too low on him. I think he gives you something,
I
especially in
mean,
the
I
pass game.
I had him in the top 125.
Mhm.
So like that fits the range of who I think will be there, and I think I called him the Michelob light version of Jameer Gibbs. Like I think
Yeah.
that he fits what the Bears want to do really well, and I think you're going to have a lot harder time finding that piece at 148 than you will the Bruiser. Like
Mhm.
I think a guy like Ollie Gordon or maybe even a DJ Giddens might be there at 148. I
Possible.
don't think Jaden Blue has a chance of being there.
Yeah, we'll see. I also think there's a small possibility that the Bears maybe even trade up from 109, maybe back into the end of the third round potentially. We saw them do that last year with Austin Booker. So if they have a guy that they like, and it's this draft class has very good talent, I believe, in the middle rounds, but that it kind of really falls off a cliff. So they might not really value 148 that pick and just package 148 with 109 to get to 90 something or whatever it is, and maybe get a guy too. So we'll see.
It's certainly possible. Yeah, so I mean, so they still got 109, they got 148, and they have the 1/7 rounder on top of that.
233, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah,
So 3 picks left.
233. It'll
But
be
really,
interesting to see
I mean,
what
with
they
they got
target.
2 picks that I think are still valid. 233 is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But 109 and even 148, you might still be able to get someone at 148. So I think they have 2 picks that they could still get maybe contributors, if maybe not star power, but contributors at least. So
Oh
we'll
man,
hope for the best.
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess Jaden Blue is my guy. Because I mean, I'm starting to think like, well, you have Swift. Like Swift
Yeah.
is gonna be one of your running backs this year. He's gonna play a real role. I don't know if you can use your next 2 picks each on running back.
No.
So at that point, it's like at 109.
It's Damian Martinez if he's there. I don't think he's going to be there. But Dane Brugler did have him as like running back 17. So according to Dane Brugler, he probably will be there at 109. According to I don't know where did Jeremiah have Martinez?
If Damian Martinez is there, that's it. But
here's the thing: Damian Martinez was not in Daniel Jeremiah's top 150, and he was running back 17 for Dane Brugler. Like those guys are tuned in. Like according to them, Damian Martinez most likely will be there at 109. So that would be, such a home run pick.
You're going with Damian Martinez no matter what.
Yep.
I'm not doing the same thing.
Okay, what do you got?
Dane Brugler has this guy as a 4th-round pick as well, his RB14. Ollie Gordon II, no matter what.
All right. I like it.
I think both those two, they give the Bears a real back that complements Swift.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
All right.
They need a running back, so yeah, hope for the best.
Hope for the best. That's all we can do. Apparently, we can't write the right scouting reports because we didn't get a single one right today, which is shocking. We write 87, but here we are.
We nailed Colson Loveland at 10.
We
did.
I
think we've got to be proud about that. We had that in our mock draft. I think we got to be proud about that, and we put a lot of good work out there. So
yeah,
hopefully fans of other teams are really enjoying our scouting reports.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully. But Steve, any final thoughts before we close this thing out?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I'm just excited to see what they do on day 3.
Me too, man. Me too. Well, let's get out of here with just a good old bear down, and we'll go get some dinner.
All right, sounds good. Bear down, everyone.
Bear down.